In this video, I'm going to break down exactly which subjects you should pick in order to open up as many pathways as possible for your degree. In case you have no idea what degree you need to pick, don't worry, that's a lot of us. And also, by the end of it, you're going to make sure you have a plan to tackle those subjects effectively. My name is Vihanka. I graduated from one of the top STEM selective entry schools in Victoria. I've worked with over 1,400 students, and I also study a double degree in aerospace engineering and astrophysics. I'm also an educational consultant for some of the top tutoring firms in the state. One thing you need to understand is that there are some subjects that you absolutely must pick for VC. That being English. You have to do an English whether you like it or not. And there are 4 Englishes you can choose from. One of them is English EAL. If you're a student who just came to Australia relatively recently, there's some prerequisites that you have to fill in order to make sure you're eligible to do this subject. If you're not sure if you can, I'd suggest asking school. They'll most likely know if you can or cannot do EAL. Then we have English Mainstream. This is the stock standard English that you've probably been doing for the last couple of years, where you have 3 essays that you have to fill: text response, creative, and then the final one being language analysis. So it's the most like the subjects you've been doing for the last couple of years. Then you have the 2 extension Englishes, which is literature and English language. Now, a lot of people get really confused about which English they should pick because they're not sure what the differences really are. If I put it to you like this, you have 3 levels of math as well, which is general math, math methods, and specialist mathematics. You would not pick specialist mathematics if you're not already strong in math. Same thing in English. You would not pick literature or language if you are not already strong in English as a base. If you are strong in English, think about what you enjoy. Do you enjoy looking at words and the different effects that they have? Or would you rather learn and enjoy the process of looking at what an author wrote and then trying to understand the meaning of it? Literature is more of what the author wrote and the metaphors and symbolisms and things they use for very classic literary texts, whereas English language is more of the persuasive style of things and you're looking at the actual words that you use in English. The next thing you should also think about is the type of math you want to do. Now, for a lot of degrees, math is a prerequisite. This is math methods, not general math or foundation math, but mathematical methods. You should 100% do mathematical methods. If you are not sure what degree you want to do, math methods opens up pretty much every single type of engineering pathway, as well as a lot of science pathways as well. A lot of universities have math methods and a score of 25 or 35 as the prerequisite. So if you're not doing math methods, you don't get access to those courses. So if you're definitely not sure, like, oh, hey, I want to study maybe biomedicine or I want to study physics at university, would strongly suggest picking up methods because it's one of the prereqs. If you are tempted to do specialist mathematics because you've heard that it scales a ridiculous amount, I would strongly advise you to consider if you are very, very, very good at math already. Specialist mathematics looks at a very different type of thinking. It isn't just a stock standard, here's a formula, chuck it in. You have to be very familiar with the different styles and thinking steps in questions. So if you're a student who is kind of struggling to get the 90+% in your school math tests, maybe reconsider taking specialist mathematics, or during your holiday break, get a textbook and get ahead of the content and see if it makes sense to you. See if you can do some practice problems. There's a bunch of resources online that you can use to learn. See if Spec is actually something that you can enjoy. See if it's something that you will spend time in and learn from. Now, let's go into the sciences. If you're a student who is interested in STEM, or if you're a student who is interested in some type of science, doing either chemistry or physics is the go-to. I would suggest chemistry if you are more inclined to the bio side of things, if you're more inclined to study the words and are able to memorize things. Because there's a lot of memorization in chem with definitions and different types of bonding structures and things like that. And it is a subject that you can do very, very well in if you put in the effort. If you're someone who is more numbers inclined, I would strongly suggest you do physics. The first 3 units of physics are very much numbers driven. You have formulas, you apply them into questions, you have very few explanations to that questions. Now, I'm not saying that if you're only interested in words and memorization that you should do chemistry, and if you're only interested in numbers, you should do physics. Both subjects have quite a lot of overlap in terms of formulas and explanation style questions. However, If you are definitely more geared towards the number side of things, physics is the go-to, and you will find it almost a cakewalk. If you are more inclined to memorizing things and you're interested in how biological processes happen and you're interested in other types of things, specifically in chemistry that you studied in school, then obviously do chemistry. Would strongly suggest you pick one of those subjects because it opens up so many different pathways in STEM specifically. If you want to do undergraduate medicine, you have to do chemistry. So if that's maybe on the table, maybe you're like, oh, I could potentially be a doctor. Not that that's how that works at all. If you want to be a doctor, you need to know from now. But if you want to do undergraduate medicine, then chemistry is something that you definitely must do. You have a couple more slots left. Keep in mind that for VC, when you get your ATAR score, they only consider the top 4 subjects. English is definitely one of them. So regardless of what you score in English, you have to consider that in your top 4. Then we just talked about the other 2. What should you have in your 4th slot and what should you have in your 5th and 6th slot if you need to do a 5th and 6th subject? Well, the other subjects that you want to do are completely up to you. If you are more interested in the business side of things, you can 100% go into accounting, economics, business management, and anything of the sorts. If you're more interested in doing a psychology degree, you may want to pick up psychology. You might want to pick up legal studies if you want to be a lawyer. All these subjects are really, really important. So if you are inclined to push a certain pathway, for example, you want to be a lawyer, doing legal studies is a great way to, 1, make sure you hit the prerequisite, and 2, make sure you actually enjoy the process. I'll tell you a story. I actually initially wanted to be a psychologist. So I did psychology in year 11 and I realized, hey, this is nothing that I thought it was going to be like. All the stuff that I'm learning, which is about like brain waves and sleep, is not really the things I'm interested in. So it was very different to what I initially thought it was. And as a result, I had to change my career pathway because I realized psychology is not something I actually want to pursue. So your subjects that you do is very much inclined to what you want to pursue and what your interests are. Don't fall into the biggest trap that a lot of students fall into, which is picking a subject because it scales well, other people say it's easy, and your friends are doing it. So those are some of the main mistakes that people make when they pick their subjects, as well as the subjects that you should 1000% pick. In summary, you should 100% do an English of whatever English you want to do. You should also try and do methods, physics or chemistry, and then the other subjects are completely up to you based on the degrees that you want to open up. Anyway, that's it. That's the video. Don't like, don't comment, don't sub. Log off and do something else now. See ya.